I hecking love Greig Fraser. I first fell in love with Fraser when I went to the movies to see the newest Star Wars film, Rogue One. At the time, I did not know who Fraser was. I was just going to see the newest Star Wars installment. I fell in love not only with the film's story, but the beauty of the film. The look and feel of that movie matched the gritty and realistic tone of the plot, which was a risk for the franchise, something Star Wars has never done before. The use of color and shadow on the characters' faces displayed their feelings and helped audiences better understand them. After stepping out of the movies, I was so moved by the cinematography that I instantly went onto my phone to look up who made the movie. To my surprise, it was the work of people I've never heard before. Now remember, I wasn't a giant film fan like I am now. As I scrolled through the IMDb page, I saw director Gareth Edwards, writer Tony Gilroy, music by Michael Giacchino, and finally, cinematographer Greig Fraser. Fraser, hailing from Melbourne, Australia, honed his skills in photography and media during high school. His journey in the film industry began when he essentially flunked out of college and went on to assist young directors like Jane Campion on The Water Diary. Fraser states, I remember being challenged by everything I was doing during those early days. I worked my ass off so that I didn't look like an idiot when we were shooting. I'd study 100 films in prep, I'd go to the tech scout, and then I'd sneak back to the location the next day to do my light study and make my plans. You play the chess game in your mind over and over. I remember it being quite intense and fun. I was also self-teaching, just constantly learning. As he transitioned from short films to narrative features, his collaboration with director Matt Reeves on Let Me In marked a significant milestone. We will discuss their latest project later in the video. Fraser's work on larger films like Zero Dark 30 and Foxcatcher propelled him into the spotlight, leading to his acceptance into the American Society of Cinematographers. In this video, we will examine and analyze Fraser's use of technology and how he mastered his craft simultaneously. Like I mentioned earlier, I saw Rogue One before I knew who Fraser was, but after that, any new release that Fraser had worked on, I was ready to go and experience in the theater. Fraser is pragmatic when it comes to filmmaking. He uses what is available to him and constantly adapts and works with the new technology. For example, he only used LEDs on Rogue One, which was unusual for the time due to the concerns of their quality and durability, but they worked extremely well with the digital cameras. The RGB LEDs could shift colors, dim, or be controlled however Fraser and his crew wanted them to look. This allowed for many options when looking for the correct amount of light or color for a particular scene. Fraser went on to work on another project for Lucasfilm, The Mandalorian, which made him a pioneer of a new technology. The Mandalorian, the first major release to incorporate LED wall virtual production techniques. He proceeded to break technological barriers by leading the revolution via his collaboration with Lucasfilm, ILM, and Epic Games. This new technology, nicknamed the Volume, allowed filmmakers to stay in the studio for an entire shoot and not have to deal with the elements of the outdoors. It allowed constant fixing and tweaking with the background of a shot that better fit the director and cinematographer's vision. After The Mandalorian, Fraser went on to work on Dune Part 1. Dune's director, Denis Villeneuve, had a strict mandate wanting the fantastical world of Dune to have a sense of realism. Fraser led the task of making the film feel real through a new film out technology that he had been working on with a senior colorist at Photochem, Dave Cole, since he filmed the movie Vice. This is what Cole had to say about the process. This wasn't a traditional film out process, Cole says. Before filming out, we processed the timed digital master, carefully treating the toe and shoulder of the image, so that once we recorded it to film and scanned it back, we'd retain the full range of latitude and detail. The image incorporated a finely detailed grain that significantly contributed to the film's overarching objective of creating a realistic and immersive atmosphere within the chaotic backdrop of a space war. This intentional choice in cinematography helped emphasize the gritty, raw nature of the conflict, allowing the audience to feel like they are part of the intense and turbulent environment. Fraser's next film, The Batman, holds a special place in my heart as my personal favorite. My intense and personal connection with the character, brilliantly brought to life by Fraser's lighting and cinematography, is a testament to the film's masterful execution. A challenge for Fraser in this film was lighting the dark. Reeves and Fraser went out of their way to make the film as dark as possible, which brought up challenges with lighting the characters that wore such dark clothing. Fraser wanted to light Robert Pattinson's eyes without making the image look overexposed and the characters having too much light reflect off their costumes. Fraser stated, "The approach is that you've got to see into his eyes. When Rob is wearing the batsuit, I worked to make sure that I pushed the light into his eyes while keeping it mostly off the cowl. There was a perfect sweet spot for the key light that would reflect off the eyes, but not hit the cowl or jaw too much. To hit that, I often had to ask Rob to be his own stand-in, because the lighting had to be that precise. I could get 80% of the way there with a stand-in, but then it had to be him and his face to really dial it in." Fraser's experience on Dune helped him successfully overcome a challenge for a rare day scene of the Batman. Fraser stated, "Something we learned on Dune was to create fabric set extensions, as opposed to green screen or a screen that was black or white, and a bounce material that was colored the same as the set. That way, the light reflecting off of it would have the right color for the environment." Fraser and his team's use of soft bounces was a testament to their adaptability, allowing them to control the light that was coming from outside of the cathedral. Similarly, their use of the volume for morning scenes in the Batman and the creation of soft boxes to act as the sky showcase their versatility in using available tools to create the desired image. Fraser's use of technology throughout this film shows us that his reliance on it does not make him or the film any worse, but expands the possibilities for the images he creates. The last two films I want to discuss regarding Fraser are The Creator and Dune Part 2, both visually spectacular films. In The Creator, I was particularly mesmerized by the LEDs used to create such a dynamically lit environment. The use of color in Aperture's LEDs lighting setup used by Fraser was masterfully implemented. While I could draw parallels to how it was applied in Dune Part 2, that's not my main focus here. The cinematography, particularly in the scene where Paul prepares to ride the sandworm, showcases Fraser's skills and experience with the camera. The camera remains stunningly still, mirroring Paul's intensity and concentration, which effectively pulls the audience into his emotional state. In contrast, the handheld feel of the camera when capturing Zendaya's character reflects her growing anxiety about the situation Paul faces. These camera movements show Fraser's knowledge of the history of cinematography. Fraser's work on Dune Part 1 earned him what the industry calls a trifecta: an Oscar, a BAFTA, and an ASC award. His influence of new technologies, his command of light and visual storytelling is what earns him these awards. His constant reinforcement of the new technology, through his actions of using them on every film he makes, shows us inspiring filmmakers that the new technology is not only there to make our jobs more manageable, but also allow our minds to make even more creative choices when selecting light, framing, lenses, for how we want to visually tell stories. This emphasis on new technology enlightens us and encourages us to explore new tools in our own work, which is why I feel Fraser is the best cinematographer currently working. Fraser, in a recent interview, explained that he couldn't even define his own style, but when he asked the interviewer what they thought his style was, they said, "Well, everything you do feels authentic." And Fraser said, "I'll take that. I'll own that. It is truly what I strive for. I don't want to be locked into any particular look or photographic style. I want to find the truth in the story and do my best to represent that." Most cinematographers have a certain style or look that directors want. However, Lucas argues in these big budget, effect driven films, cinematographers' influence is typically at a nadir, where they are most often charged with realizing rather than conceiving the visual design of cinema. But it suggests that craft work, as organized by the narrative plan of a script and the interpretive priorities of a director, has mediated the development of new techniques and has contributed to some extent to the persistence of Hollywood classical style. However, Fraser emphasizes that the light, the lenses, the compositions, and the movement of the camera must all be grounded in the truth of the film. This, he argues, is not just for the sake of the story, but to ensure that audiences are deeply involved in the narrative, experiencing the film in a way that is both authentic and engaging. The advancement and utilization of new technologies in Fraser's career, along with his expertise in cinematography and lighting, establish him as the best in his field. Thank you for watching my very first video essay.